I think you are the only one left who still believes the killing all Hamas terrorists. Piers, frankly, Israel has such a
I said that's what
sophisticated army,
Israel
and
is.
Israel
I
knows
said that's what
exactly what
Israel has
it's
said it is
doing. So
trying to
it's
do.
not killing Hamas
I've actually
terrorists.
been no,
Israel
hang on,
has
hang on.
killed
I've been very
70% of
just to be clear.
civilians since
Just to be
October
clear,
2023.
Francesca, I've been very critical of the Israeli
Yeah,
government in
I
the
know,
last
but you're
week.
still mentioning that Israel is killing terrorists.
Well,
Greta Thunberg.
2010 is a very different story at a very different time, and I
For
don't.
you, Pierce, but not for the people in Gaza. Hello, because you woke up in 2023
No,
after
no, I
October.
was covering it in
In
two.
2010,
Sorry,
they
just to be
had
clear, I was covering
they
it.
had already
I
suffered
was covering it then. I
1,300
worked at
deaths.
CNN. I was covering it all then. I've covered this conflict for decades. So don't
And you
insult.
keep on calling
Don't be
conflict,
patronising
Pierce.
about when I've covered this and what I've said. If you go back and check, you'll know.
You don't want to talk with me about Gaza and the awful situation there and the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. So you just wanted to talk about what you think it's a stunt.
Yeah.
You called me for that. So
Yes.
I'm international law expert, and you called me on your program to talk about Greta Thunberg.
Yo, everybody, welcome to my new channel where I throw my 2 cents in and rattle a few cages. Now, buckle up, because what we're about to witness is going to be Piers doing the usual intellectual equivalent of running a marathon in flip-flops, and Francesca Albanese is there every step of the way, handing him blisters. Piers is going to try, he's going to try alright, to spin the Gaza aid flotilla into a narcissist PR stunt. But what he doesn't realize is Francesca is going to corner him with cold hard facts on illegal blockade, war crimes under ICC investigation, and a Western media circus that's more outraged about Greta Thunberg's presence than Palestinian children starving under siege. Piers wants a gotcha moment. Instead, he's gonna get dragged into a human rights reality check he can't squirm out of. Guys, new channel, don't forget to subscribe and like. YouTube shut me down on my previous page with 8,000 followers. Now let's jump in.
I just wanted to ask you, first of all, your reaction to what's been going on with Greta Thunberg. I've got to say, I have not been impressed by this. I think this was a very distracting piece of narcissistic attention seeking by somebody with a track record for doing this, who then compared herself by using the words like kidnapped to the people who've actually been kidnapped in this war, which I thought was extremely distasteful. I know you've been talking to her or some of the crew, certainly. What did we gain by this?
So first of all, thank you for having me, Piers. I hope we will have a peaceful conversation, because I've been up almost all night following what was happening to the flotilla and responding to journalists interested in knowing what was happening. I would like to reframe the whole discussion, if you allow me. So, because the flotilla mission was a lawful humanitarian effort, not a stunt. And because of this, we need to look at why they were there and not who was there. As you know, Gaza has been starving. As you know, it's incredible, it's abominable that a country whose leaders are indicted or investigated by the ICC for atrocity crimes and who's been investigated as a state for genocide get to control the flows of aid. This is absolutely ludicrous. Aid should be given according to principles of humanity, neutrality, impartiality, and independence. Instead, Israel has turned this into a sadistic abattoir, as Chris Gunness recently put it. So the flotilla has substituted the inept reaction of the international community, which has expressed words of condemnation at best. So what I think is that the flotilla, with all the people who were on board, is all but performative. And let me tell you why I think that people like Greta Thunberg or Rima Hassan came on board. Yesterday, I was not in touch with her. I've been in touch with the captain, because together with other special rapporteur peers, we have sought the support, called for the support of the flotilla since the very beginning, because we think that the flotilla is doing, even if symbolically, what member states should be doing. But just a few weeks ago, another flotilla with anonymous activist was hit in international waters. It was probably a crime, and no one has uttered a word. And in 2010, 10 people, 10 activists were killed, and no one has been held accountable despite a UN investigation. So people like Greta Thunberg and others came on board using their visibility, putting everything in the line.
What have they achieved, honestly? Listen,
listen,
I hear you, but what have they achieved, honestly, other than Greta Thunberg getting her face on a lot of newspapers, right? With a big beaming grin, receiving food, Let me finish. All I've seen are big pictures of her grinning her head off, receiving food at the end of her ordeal, which lasted a few hours. She knew exactly what was going to happen. She knew the IDF would not let her anywhere near Gaza. The whole thing is, I think you said, is performative. And I'm not seeing people running around going, good on Greta Thunberg. She's really changed my mind about what's happening there. They've all gone, hang on a sec, you're calling yourself a kidnap victim, and your kidnappers are giving you food and then taking you to a safe place afterwards. Why would you use that kind of analogy when actually the war is raging, as you know, because Israel is determined to kill all the Hamas terrorists and get their hostages back who actually were kidnapped?
I think you are the only one left who still believes the killing all Hamas terrorists, Piers. Frankly, Israel has such a
I said that's what Israel is. I said that's what Israel has said it is trying to do.
Not killing Hamas terrorists.
I've actually been hang on. I've been very just to be clear, Francesca, I've been very critical of the Israeli government in the last week.
But you're still mentioning that Israel is killing terrorists.
I'm repeating their mission statement, which they said was to eradicate Hamas and get their terrorists, and get their hostages back.
I didn't say that this is performative at all, rather the contrary. And the fact that you and I are speaking of this boat is, while you have not been interviewing me about the other flotilla who was hit in the middle of international waters, and it was deflagged, which is an incredible violation of people's safe sailing and security. When it happened a couple of weeks ago, it's people like, sorry, I'm not saying people like you, but the media is quite sensationalist, and it has been salivating around the fact that there was Greta Thunberg on the boat. I've never talked to Greta during the context of this mission. I've been talking to the captain and to the communication room on the ground because I was just interested. You know, Piers, people in Gaza are seriously starving as they are bombed every day without respite. 400 people are killed every day. And I've seen a glimpse of hope on the face of many because they were waiting for the flotilla. There should be more flotilla.
Come on, you don't believe that for a moment.
And then
you don't believe that.
States
I'm sorry, Francesca. It's simply ridiculous to think that anyone in Gaza thought that this flotilla was actually going to get anywhere near them and give them any of the relatively meagre supplies they had. The only person who ended up being fed was Greta Thunberg by the IDF. How is that anything but a painful embarrassment and a stunt?
Do you really believe Israeli propaganda throwing sandwiches at them? Of course, the answer was give it to the people in Gaza. Come on, Piers. Come on. You're better than this, Piers. That sandwich was for propaganda.
I think you're better than this. I think you're better than this. The idea you think that anyone in Gaza... No, hang on, Francesca.
Francesca was scared of.
Francesca, you do not believe for a moment, if you're honest, that anybody in Gaza genuinely thought Greta Thunberg was going to rock up on the beach with supplies. You knew that was never going to happen. Nobody in Gaza said to you, did they? We think that's going to happen. Nobody did.
You clearly seem not to read my mind, Piers, thankfully. No, it's that you're wrong because you keep on focusing on Greta Thunberg while people like me and people I've been speaking with in Gaza didn't even pay attention. For them, what matters is that humanity has not forgotten them, is that there is someone who tries to break that awful siege that has turned their ghetto into an extermination camp, Piers. Again, I say, let's move away from the flotilla because the flotilla, one thing is sure, has raised two important points. First, is that member states are not doing enough. And if there is something that is performative, is Western condemnation, including that of the UK, because this boat was sailing with a UK flag, and the fact that Israel says in international water, intercepted in international water, a UK flag sailing boat means that this is an act of, can qualify as an act of aggression against the UK. Have you heard the voice of any UK politician on that? Maybe they spoke. I didn't hear that. And again, this is the usual politics dynamic. The rest is that today there is a lot of attention, a lot of focus on this. And in 30 minutes, 1 hour, there were millions of people who had seen my alarm and that of others I was on the phone with them as they were encircled by vessels and then by quadcopters. Quadcopters are the drones who are there to shoot, Piers. And I asked these people, guys, put on the helmets, can you? And they say,
nobody shot them. Nobody shot them. No one did anything
to them.
In
2010 they did. Can you predict what Israel will be doing? It's not bad. I was sure that Israel would not give order to shoot at these people because of their visibility. But it takes one person to be in the wrong state of mind for things to go incredibly wrong. 10 people lost their life in 2010, Piers, and we would dishonor their memory if we continue to ignore them and talk about Greta
2010 is a very different story at a very different time. And
for you, Piers, but not for the people in Gaza. Hello, because you woke up in 2023 after
No,
October.
I was covering it in
2010.
Sorry, just to be clear, I was covering it.
They had already suffered.
I was covering it then. I worked at
deaths.
CNN. I was covering it all then. I've covered this conflict for decades. So don't insult.
And you keep on calling
Don't be
conflict,
patronising about when I've covered this and what I've said. If you go back and check, you'll know. But the reality is that despite your heroic attempt to bill this as some great, fantastic protest that grabbed the world's attention, actually most people thought it was a puerile, pathetic stunt by an attention seeker.
Where are the statistics, Piers? I really would like to see the statistics, because I don't think so at all. Piers, this is so disingenuous, because it really, look at what's going on around the world. There is support expressed toward the flotilla all over.
The flotilla's a joke.
Today, from
Sorry,
Nigeria,
I'm
from
sorry.
Morocco. This is the
The
first time
flotilla was a
joke.
joke, a
Why
publicity.
Are we talking about the flotilla and not
It
Gaza?
was an attention-seeking publicity stunt that was designed to raise attention for Greta Thunberg. Nobody else. No one in Gaza has benefited from this ridiculous stunt. It got nowhere near Gaza. It was never going to get anywhere near Gaza. Obviously, she knew that. We knew that. And if she's that concerned, why is she grinning like a Cheshire cat in all the pictures? What's so funny?
You should not be insulting. You should not be insulting the facial expression on anyone.
She's insulting my intelligence with her facial expression. Well, don't grin. If it's that serious, don't grin. I feel desperately concerned. I feel desperately concerned for the plight of the innocent. Let me finish. Let me finish. Let me finish. Let me finish.
Who's been sailing for 8 days.
Fine. Let me finish.
Today you talk about her grimace.
Fine.
Come on.
Let me finish.
Can we talk about Gaza?
I feel very concerned, as I've been saying loudly in the last week, about the ongoing appalling plight of innocent civilians in Gaza. All I can say for sure is that this stunt has done absolutely zero to help any of the people in Gaza. Zero.
This is your opinion, Piers, and I respect it very much, and it counts zero.
Okay. Well, in that case, we will agree to disagree. Thank you very much indeed for joining me. I appreciate it.
You don't want to talk with me about Gaza and the awful situation there and the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. So you just wanted to talk about what you think it's a stunt.
Yeah.
You called me for that.
Yes.
So I'm international law expert, and you called me on your program to talk about Greta Thunberg.
Well, you've had nearly 20 minutes to talk about whatever you wanted to talk about.
I answered your question, Piers.
Yeah, you had 20 minutes. If you wanted to talk about something else, talk about something else.
However, I won't bother you further. Thank you very much. Till the next one. Bye-bye, Piers.
Bye-bye.
Piers Morgan, the man who can't tell the difference between a UN legal expert and a teenage climate activist Instagram post. The man who moans about Israel's blockade 1 minute, then throws a tantrum when someone dares to challenge it. Tell me, Piers, when exactly did caring about starving children become narcissist? Alright, when it didn't fit your rating script. Francesca tried again and again to talk about Gaza, and each time, Piers dragged the convo back to Greta's facial expression. What a weirdo. You had 20 minutes to say what you wanted. No, she didn't, lad. You spent 18 of them interrupting her like a pound shop Bill O'Reilly. And for a guy who's so obsessed with performative stunts, the entire interview was one big performative meltdown from Piers himself. Controlled opposition? You bet. The only thing this man exposed today was his own double standards. Now listen, if Greta's the narcissist here, what the hell does that make Piers Morgan? Drop your answers in the comments. I'll be reading. Don't forget to like and share, y'all. Catch you on the next one.